Now, here's today's big story. Let's dive deeper into the coronavirus situation with our editor-in-chief, Andy Serwer. Andy, the market continues to shrug off a little bit of some of these escalating numbers, but are investors right to believe some of the data we're getting from China?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Brian, and I was sort of pondering that. And if you think about collecting and disseminating information about an epidemic is a tall order for even the most open societies, say the United States or Western Europe. But when you consider China and the way that political system and society works, this is a much more complicated and difficult proposition. I mean, we always talk about how opaque the Chinese are in terms of transmitting information to us. Part of that is by design, and part of that is simply because it's a big country. So here you have a situation where they are having a tough time getting information, and or they may be intent on not giving us all the information. And I know that people at the World Health Organization and the CDC and NIH here in the United States have been frustrated. And you've seen that the Chinese have been both cooperative and not so cooperative. So this makes it that much more difficult. In other words, it's a good thing the epidemic is not in the United States, but if it were, we'd probably be more transparent and understand it better than what's going on in China. The good news is, if you can call it that, is that it hasn't spread for mostly to the rest of the world, that it's mostly been contained with China. But having said that, there's the possibility, A, and B, the Chinese economy is such a huge part of the global economy and the global supply chain. The implications are huge, and we can talk more about that.
Yeah, to that point, it is such a big market. Many companies are scrambling to get inside. And just today, we learned that MasterCard has been given approval by the People's Bank of China to enter that very lucrative market. You had a chance to speak with the CEO of MasterCard today. What did he say about the situation in China? Is he concerned at all about the virus?
Very much so. I was speaking with Ajay Banga, who is the CEO of MasterCard, and he was happy about getting this new deal and saying, I guess along with everything else that's going on, there is still a little bit of business as usual. Of course, the Chinese have promised to open up the financial markets this year, and I guess are still intent on doing that. But he talked about how the Chinese consumer, the Chinese tourist, is the #1 spender going overseas. So that's going to be a huge impact. He talked about how you haven't quite seen the impact when it comes to bookings for hotels and airlines quite yet. We're already seeing cancellations of flights between the United States and China. But globally, you're starting to see a slowdown of global travel. For instance, Mobile World Congress is in Barcelona the last week of February, begins February 24th. And, you know, we're wondering whether or not the numbers of people, which is tens of thousands of people, is starting to ratchet down, that they're going to get less people going there. And so, you know, the impact from the tourism standpoint and then the supply chain, which we've talked about a lot, are huge. And trying to estimate, you know, how big it is and where it's going right now is a huge challenge.
And you just mentioned Mobile World Congress, a growing list of companies now pulling out, including Amazon. This morning we learned about Intel and Ericsson as well. So it continues.
Well, there you go.
All right. Thanks a lot, Andy.
Thank you.
Hey, investors. Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.